to start recording. Yeah. If you cannot see me painting, please remind me to share the screen. I've got a marker over there. But all you'll see, if I don't share the screen, all you'll see is this. That's not very helpful. But I have to tell you that the two things we're going to paint today, and the thing that we're going to refresh ourselves on, oh, thank you, is all on YouTube. I've already made recordings of them. So I will send you those links as I'm painting, or when the workshop's done, but they're all exactly what we're doing today. So there's no worries about that. In case Zoom goofs me up. Do you see any more callers? Hey, you're here. Hi, Susie. How are you? How have you been?
I'm okay, but I was late because there was a horse trailer got in a wreck and there was horses.
Oh,
up to the
strewn
grave.
everywhere. Oh man, what a
It
what a
was so
start.
scary.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I just said, I just hope everybody's okay. There was like five fire trucks.
Oh,
my.
yeah, you hate to see that, especially around this time of year. So, Yvonne is not here yet, but I'm gonna have to start without her. Susie, Pam, Sandy, Margie. Yes, just Yvonne. So I'm gonna start prattling. So I will share my screen and it will be recorded. First of all, what do I mean? I'll go through the handout first. What do I mean by shape-driven design? I decided to put a name to it. I'm calling it SDD for short. Anyway, so I have this image, and this image is, for a lot of people, it is unpaintable. There's too much going on. I don't know how to draw boats. I don't know how to do that atmosphere, the fog. I don't know how to paint all those little pieces of foliage and all the other stuff. Well, you don't have to. You're just suggesting it. But how do you suggest that? How do I take this and make sense out of it? And I think you've all heard that the secret to painting is squinting, right? Well, I'm going to squint at this. And if everybody does squint at this, they can start breaking it down. I see a big light area here, a big light area, and I'm even going to make that light. And then I see a big mid-tone area here. And then I see some light, dark, and mid-tone here, but I'm going to say that's all dark. And this is the big shape that I'm wanting you to see. So if I go to this, I'm breaking it down into this right here. It's all on your handout. There's my mid-tone, there's my dark, and there's my light. So that's what I'm trying to do to simplify this as we, so we can make it paintable. So, let's see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a value study, and I'm going to start with my mid-tone. I'm going to start with my combination of mid-tone, which is most paintings, some darks for definition, and then the light. So I'm going to try to figure out by squinting my eyes everything that's not white, everything that's not light. And I'm not going to be picky about this. I'm not going to make that dark. I'm going to make that light because that's fog, that's atmosphere. So if I keep that in mind, I'm going to come up with a shape that looks like this. And so that's my shape. So if you can see on the left, I can see pretty much everything. I simplified it. I made it paintable. Anyway, so there's my paintable shape. And that's going to give me a direction, and we're going to paint that. That's the reason I had you trace 2 of these boat things. So that's how we're going to start. And then we're going to paint our midtone. And first I'm going to paint my light. I'm going to paint everything that's I consider light on this page. And this is going to be this. That's what I consider to be light on this page. I don't care about any of this. I'm going to paint right through it because we paint from light to dark. But here's my fog back here. Here's my wet and wet, wet and damp. I put this cool color in, and I put this warm color in as an underpainting. So that's going to be the first process of this. Once I get that done, I'm going to go back to my grayscale, my value study, and I'm going to put in darks for definition. Oh, you can see that this kind of looks like boats, and it kind of looks like trees and bushes and whatnot, but I don't know yet. But this will define it for you. So now I've got my dark and my midtone and my light, and I started with that big shape. And I don't have that many shapes in the darks. That's usually for definition. And so that's going to bring me to, this is going to be my guide. We're going to paint this first, and then we're going to add the darks. We're going to paint this first, excuse me. Then we'll do the color version, painting the light or white. Then we're going to add our darks to our value study. And then we're going to paint our midtone, which is this. So here's my midtone. So you can see that I have added stuff to that. I've added my midtone now because I was painting light. Now I've started to add midtone, and that's light midtone, that's dark midtone. We're not dark yet. So you can see how this is building. And then we're going to end up, and then I'm using this as my guide to paint this. I'm using this as my guide to paint this. I don't want to use the photograph for reference anymore. Oh, how scary that is. And then we're going to end up with this. So now I've put my darks in. This is the same painting, same painting. So now I've started to put, I did put my darks in. So this is the final painting. So that makes it doable. That makes that kind of, oh, I don't know if I can paint that or not, painting doable. So we're going to paint that first. And I'll put that away. And there's the reference. So yes, that can be painted. Yay! After lunch, we're going to be painting this one. This is something that I created in AI, actually, from another image inspired by Don Andrews. So I'm going to do the same thing. Look at that. I'm going to take everything that's not light. I'm squinting my eyes. I can see light. 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 I'm going to paint everything that's not light, my midtone. There you go. And then I'm going to paint my, do my painting. And this is my start of my painting. So I'm painting all that light area. And then I'm going to add my dark to this. And there you go. There's my darks added to it for definition. So I can see all these shapes. This is driven by shapes. And this is 4 values. Sometimes, usually I try to just use 3, but I have dark, my dark shape. That makes that whole thing a shape. That makes that cabin stand out. That gives this balance over here. That starts to define this. Oh yeah, that's a little river or stream or something. And so this is my guide. This is my, if I had one to pick out of all of these, this is my guide. I can make this autumn. I can make this summer. I can make this winter. I can do anything I want. by using those shapes and simplifying everything. So then I said yes. Then I went to this. That's my start. So I'm painting my light, and I'm leaving my white paper. And then I'm painting my midtones and darks. So that's easy peasy. And it doesn't make any difference, especially with landscapes. Oh no, I got to bleed. Oh no, I got to bloom. Oh no, I did this. Oh no, you've got gouache, you've got pastel pencils, you've got everything else. And then also, just to reiterate, I did make, there are YouTube movies on both of these. This one in the boats, even though this is being recorded, you can go to the YouTube video if you want a more edited version of it, I guess. Materials list, here's your boats. And I asked you to do this, print this print this to size. That means that's 8.5 by 11. Trace it twice on 2 pieces of 9 by 12 cold pressed watercolor paper, just the big shapes. You don't have to worry about all the detail because you're going to be painting it. We're going to start here. We're going to end up there, and that's going to allow us to follow this process, painting light to dark, big to small, wet to dry, soft to hard, edges, so on and so forth. So I think that's it. Oh, here's the house. Here's where I started with the house. I painted everything that wasn't light. First, that's a big shape. That's a big connected shape. That's pretty cool. And then that's the dark added for definition. And there's the reference on that. I don't care if you paint that to size. People here will be painting that. I've got prints for them. I wanted to also show you something quickly. So here is a student. And I'm doing this at my own classes right now. So here's a student photo she brought in. And we're using a keyword called freedom. And this was her idea of freedom. Instead of me saying paint 3 boats. Hey, Vaughn. Good, you made it. Instead of me saying paint 3 boats, I'm giving you the freedom. We all picked words. We all picked very wide, very broad things. Freedom being one of them. People was one. Majestic was one. Anyway, here was her idea of freedom. And so how do we paint this? How do we figure out how to paint this? I did this in Photoshop and cleaned it up, but it's the same thing that you could be doing with your paints, your sketch pad. You can do this. You can do these studies in marker or whatever. And so here's a small painting I did for her in class, just to show her the process: wet to dry, big to small, light to dark, all those other things. And these are just little color studies. And I did the same thing. So this is how I figure out how to paint stuff. So this was another student, and this was that's not a great shot, but it's a good shot. It's got a lot of content in it. So I cleaned it up, I straightened it out, I got rid of this kayaker, I defined this side a little bit, I lightened this area in here. So I'm doing all this editing in my head. I could be doing this in paint or markers or digital. So I want his head to stand out. That's a bad tangent right there. So that's what we do as artists. That's what I'm trying to communicate here for this shape driven. And then this is the little study that I did for him. And it was just a quick little study, but I put light back here so you could see it warm, and then it cools off. He was having trouble suggesting the water. So everything is cleaned up. I've got a highlight here. I've got contrast here, etc. So now that process will let me decide whether to do this as a larger painting. Also, for those of you who paint people, this was a shot that somebody had that's their son. They wanted to paint their son and they weren't sure how to do that. That's already a good contrasting folder, but here I can see the shapes. I can see the shapes, and I got rid of all this stuff. I connected dark back here. So this, I'm doing my designing, my editing. That's why I put shape-driven design, because that's what I'm doing. I'm using the shapes to make a design that is paintable. So this is paintable. There's midtone, there's darks, and there's lights. And of course, that doesn't have to be white. It's just light flesh going into cool. And I don't need that. I don't need some things. I like the light here defining that side of his head. I like this connecting to his head. I like this dark shape here. So I would accentuate that a little bit for a hairline. But anyway, that makes it doable. So does anybody have any questions about my chatter, my philosophy? I'm trying to simplify your lives. Your paint, no, God, no. I'm trying to simplify your painting lives.
Jim, are we painting the white or are we leaving the white?
Or what?
Are we painting white?
No, that's
No.
watercolor. It's white paper. Leave
Oh,
the paper white.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Yeah, leave white paper. You'll see me do it. Anyway, does anybody have any questions about that? And also, I am going to introduce you to, let me share the screen. I said I would in this workshop go to, see, I have my little reminder, my lab created opal here. Also, here is this. I will pass this around. I'm going to paint this before I paint this. I'm going to paint all midtone. And that's going to let me paint the light and midtone. Then I'm going to go back and paint the darks, and I'm going to add the darks. You can pass those around. And what I wanted to do, we're going to take the usual 12:30, go get your tamales, get a snack or whatever. I'll still be.
They close at 12.
Oh, I know.
Oh, so you.
Oh, they close at 12 now? Oh, 12 today? They
They
close.
always close it.
Supposed to be 1, but the tamales are gone by 12.
No, they close at 12. They start packing up and leaving.
Oh,
Yeah, remember?
I thought they closed at 1. Oh, anyway. Okay, I sent you, if I didn't send you this, I will. I don't think I put this in the packet, but I'm not sure. So these are the 10 biggest watercolor mistakes. And this was done based on Michelle Weber's YouTube video, plus my comments down here, because I think some of them were wrong. But it's kind of a refresher, and I'm just going to cover what I see, not necessarily all 10. And the reason I said that is because people have trouble laying down washes, flat washes. First of all, they don't mix enough paint, and they don't have a big enough puddle, and they run out and they try to mix more, and it's going to be a different color, and it's going to be wetter than what they already have. This looks pretty good, but it didn't. It had all the mistakes. I'm going to show you how to fix that so you can get it back to kind of a flat value. This was done correctly. This was done incorrectly. I don't know why. I think this was wet on damp. This is wet on damp. We forget all the time that most of the time that we paint, it's wet on wet, wet on dry, and that's how we paint. So we have 2 other things in there. We have wet on damp, which is really where we do most of our painting. By the way, does everybody have tracing paper, carbon paper, transfer paper? If you don't. Oh, you did that, okay.
I think it might be.
Yeah. If anybody needs carbon paper,
I'll take it.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Joe. That's
Uh-huh.
why I was late, because I said it would be easier to do it on my drawing board at home and it.
Okay. So if anybody hasn't traced these out yet, and then they want to do the paint along, you can be doing that while I'm yakking. I've already got mine traced out. Anyway, so back to this. So it's how to fix that. You can fix anything in watercolor. These two examples here were wet on damp. You can see that it was, I did paint that as I was drawing. This was just wet on damp to start with, not wet on wet, wet on damp. And then as it dried, you can see the depth that you can get with that. This was all about muddy colors. I took my palette and I just mixed all the paint that I had on my contaminated palette together. And that was kind of this color. That doesn't look muddy to me. And then I started adding color. That doesn't look muddy. That doesn't look muddy. That does not look muddy to me. Where mud comes from, in my experience, is overworking the biggest culprit. Overworking and dirty water.
Yeah.
So those two things. Overworking and dirty water. We all probably graduated. We all have our PhD in overworking.
Particularly.
Yes, we've done that enough. So anyway, so here is my first one that I'm gonna do. So I have these, I'm gonna bring this up. So what I'm trying to do is figure that out. How do I simplify that? I'm squinting my eyes. So I'm gonna paint everything that's not light. And I'm gonna make that light. I don't like that contrast up here. So I'm gonna make this whole shape. I'm gonna make all the rest of it a mid-tone. And I will, you can see this here. You can see my whole screen. Can everybody see my screen?
Yeah, the little white
The
bar.
little white
the
bar,
boats.
the boat.
I'm
How do
sorry.
you know, there's the white
Yeah.
bars on the boats. Do you leave those or do you
Yeah,
paint over them?
They're the boat. They're the boats, but I'm gonna paint, I'm gonna cover most of this up. I'm gonna
Okay.
make it look like this.
But you're gonna leave the little white bars.
Yeah, because those are light. Right?
Yes,
I'm looking at the image and I see light here. I see light. The seats, the little rails. I mean, you're the one that's going to have to edit this. I'm trying to get you to edit. I'm going to leave a little light here. I'm going to leave a little light right here. That's all going to be light. You can see you can see how I interpreted that. So that makes this one big connected shape. I'm painting a shape. I'm not painting a thing. Okay. So I'll leave both of those up, and you can. This takes time to figure this out. This takes longer than learning how to paint watercolor. Painting watercolor is pretty easy after a while. I mean, you just get used to the medium. Figuring out how to paint it, how to simplify it enough to be able to paint it is the hard part. You don't have to see. I kept this really simple. This is not a painting. This is my study. So you do not have to go crazy. All those details and stuff. The big thing is I'm going to paint the land. I'm going to paint where's the water, where's the land, and the boat shapes. So, whoops, what happened? Something happened.
Susie spooked it.
Oh, there we go. Anyway, I'm just painting the boat shapes. And I'm looking at this for my reference and I'm trying to simplify it, right? That's the big deal. I'm trying to get to here. And the biggest mistake that most people make when they're doing these, and it's not critical to this because this is just a study, I got to use gravity. Gotta use gravity. First of all, I'm gonna tape it off. I'll tape it off so it looks good when I get done. So I have a mask. You can do this or not do this. It's not really crazy relevant for this study. The study you can also do, I recommend that you do it on your good paper, but you can do it on practice paper too. Just don't expect the same results. So I'm going to give you, I'm going to give those of you 5 minutes to get at least one of these penciled out. Okay.
So that mid-tone, is that gonna be wet on wet or wet on dry or?
Well, look at the edges. Are the edges hard edges?
No?
Yes, these edges are all hard. Whoops. These edges are all hard edges. Right?
I'm
There's no
still learning what's
Yeah,
what.
yeah, there's no blurry edges. The reason I didn't say yes or no to your question is I want you to understand that these are hard edges, so I'm painting wet on dry. There's no need to paint wet on wet for these at all, for these studies. Unless I'm not going to paint the fog yet. I'm going to do that when I paint the fog. I'm looking for the big, simple shapes, just like in that handout where I put them in, outlined them in red. So right now I'm painting everything that's not light or white. So, and I'm squinting my eyes at this one and I'm figuring that out. So yeah, I see some dark, I see some mid-tone, but I don't care. Those all go in the same bag because I'm just painting this mid-tone right now. I'm painting everything that's not white or light, and I'm considering this to be my light. I even made this, I stopped that water right there. I want that, I want this shape right there. I don't want it to just end. So I think this is pretty close to what I want. So all I'm going to do is go through this exercise because I want you all to do it. I know some of you who've been here before have done this. It's a way to make your paintings much more successful. So we'll start this in a couple of minutes. And if you'll notice that the tracing paper that you're using, it gets to be quite, if you press too hard, it's pretty dark. So what I use is I use the end of my brush. I don't use a pencil. I just use the end of my brush. And this carbon won't erase. It won't make any difference for this one, but just so you know, this carbon will not erase.
Somebody said in my brush.
I just use the end of my brush because it's round and big and soft.
Okay.
And that's something that you'll find out. If you're doing, for instance, if you're doing a head and you have those very light areas here, but there's still a shape, you don't want that line there. You don't want that big, hard, dark line there.
That's why I
You
use-
can do it for the eyes and part of the mouth and the nostrils, but I want to make sure that I am still. Yes. Everybody can see this, correct? Okay. Well, I know you guys can. All you Zoomers can see the screen, right?
Yes, we can. Thank you, Joe.
No, I said Zoomers. I want to hear somebody from Zoom land say, I can see the screen.
I can see the screen.
I can see the
Oh,
screen.
I can see the
thank
screen.
you.
Okay, now you got it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys believe the weather today?
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's December 16th. Come on.
That's because you're from Ohio.
I have to go to Dallas for thinking. I have to go to Dallas to get weather. You don't have to sketch every detail, just the big shapes. Okay, very important. I'm going to mix up a big puddle. Bigger than I think. And for me, I'm just using Payne's Gray. That's my that's my dark color. That's not a big enough puddle yet. And I'm going to try to mix this 50% midtones as a value. That's not enough yet.
Thanks, Ray.
Mix more than you think. I'm not saying that for this one, but if you are doing a painting, and you have a color that you need to be mixed up, I want you to have enough that you don't have to go back and fix it. I'll show you how to do that, but it's much easier to do this way. So here's going to be my process. I still don't think that's enough paint. I'm going to mix a little bit more.
Okay.
Don't make this too dark. It's going to look dark when you first put it on, but it'll be fine. So I'm painting with gravity, and I'm going to use this bead of water, which gravity gives you, that you heard about several times. What do you need?
I saw a lot of little dish up here. I thought I would put the Payne's Gray in.
Oh, you need a palette?
Oh, it can go right in the dish because I have a.
Oh. Oh, you don't need a. You really don't need a dish. Here's a new one. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna start painting, and I'm gonna say, I'm gonna leave all this white because I want this atmosphere to show. So I'm trying to figure this out, and I see I'm gonna paint a big connected shape. So I'm just using a little dry brush here to indicate those bushes. And I'm gonna paint this whole thing. I'm gonna paint everywhere I don't see light. So there's some bushes happening. And I see I have a little land mass over here. So I'm gonna leave a little bit of that white. I have a little bit of this over here. And then I have this, I'm gonna make this, see that little curve right there?
Yeah.
On your reference? I'm gonna leave that curve in there. I'm trying to make a big connected shape. Oh, I'm glad I mixed enough paint. Now I'm just gonna go around what white that I see that's left on this boat. That's gonna be dark. You'll notice I'm painting top to bottom. So I have these beads, I have this bead of water here. That's very important that you retain that. Oh my God, I'm painting without my glasses on. I have this shadow on the boat. This little shadow right here with the seats. I'm painting that. I'm not really painting any detail. That's enough for that. It's good enough. I have that sticking up. Here's this big boat that I'm painting. That's just a big shape in there. I'm not painting any detail because that shape is a combination of my dark and mid-tone. Not painting any detail. I'm painting the big shapes, those big connected shapes. A little bit right there. That's going to be dark along here. This whole bottom right here is dark. I'm leaving this white because I see light on this rail. I see light on that seat. Now I'm beginning to see a little light for these little weeds sticking up here. So I'm going to do that. The rest of this can all be painted mid-tone. That's what it is. Look, I'm running out of paint. I thought I had way too much. I'm running out of paint. I'm going to leave some of that. This is dark along here. I have these seats. This is a study now. This is not a painting, so don't go crazy over trying to I see some light along here. This is all going to be in shadow. My God, I'm just going to have enough paint left. I thought I mixed enough. And there's my reflection. And here's the rest of the weeds. And I'm going to take and make a few strokes of water down here because that's not light. That all is connected. So look at that. I figured it out. So I can actually kind of sort of paint this. Kind of cool.
Doesn't matter if your wash isn't all one tone, right?
Yes,
Yes.
because
no.
when you're doing an actual painting, you'll want one tone, right? That's the reason you mix a big puddle, and that's the reason you paint from top to bottom. and you leave that bead of water going. See, I just touched
You
this
didn't
right
hear
here to
that.
put, look at that change.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to keep this all as one tone. We're gonna cover that later on.
Anyway, right?
I'm
Okay.
sorry?
Anyway, we are going to cover.
Yeah, we are gonna cover that later on. And I got a big puddle of water here, so anyway, that's good enough. That's good enough for me. Because I painted this big connected shape. Now I have actually figured out, oh, that's not so hard. Look, I can see stuff that looks like boats, shapes that look like boats. I can see my light pattern. I can see my ground. We're not going to put any darks in yet. We just want to get this far. And if I like what's going on here, I can kind of vision the rest of my painting, but I like where the boats are. I know they're boats because I painted them. I drew them. I like where they are. I like where they're situated. So that's a good design, I think. And look, I used up all my paint. I used that big puddle all the way up. Almost ran out. How could I do that?
Lots of balloons.
That's because you're going back and touching it. You're trying to fix stuff.
Yep, I am. Okay, stop.
That's how you get blooms. Paint big strokes. Do not go back and try to fix stuff unless, and this is what we'll cover around lunch, unless you can fix it. It's a lot easier not to do it than try to save it. Okay, I've got my color one ready to go. Oops, I forgot something. So now here's a mistake. I'm gonna have to go back and mix some more paint because I forgot something that I saw in this. I forgot to put this. I want to make this water a shape because I want this boat to stand out. So how do I do that? I'm going to do that. And it's not going to match. And here's where I'm making the mistake. If I'm doing a real painting, I'm making the mistake right here. So there is what I forgot to put in. There's that water. I'm so glad I did that because now you can see. Now I made a decision and now I painted that water, and I didn't paint it that way because now I'm going to paint the shape first, and then I'm going to add little water strokes. There, now that boat works better. This is the place to, if you're not sure, this is the place to figure out your painting. Because if I haven't got it figured out here, how am I supposed to figure it out when I'm actually painting? I'm going to be trying to save the painting a half an hour into painting it, or 10 minutes. That makes sense to me now. This makes sense to me. I'm glad I did that.
Shoot.
Oh, I will.
He died for.
I knew you'd bring something.
And that too.
Oh my God. Yeah, I figured we'd have a ton of stuff. I'm going to have to cater everybody that's on Zoom. We got more holiday stuff.
Or did they miss it?
So if you did just like I did, I forgot to do this part right here. So I just did it. Because this part was very important because it sets up this boat, it sets up this boat. So I, as an artist, decided to do that. And we're going to put this one aside. But this is going to be, I still want to be able to see it because this is going to be my guide for painting my light. My light,
You mean the lights?
the lights.
Gotta get your lingo right so I can follow correctly. So we're gonna have to mix more wash right now?
We're going to have what?
Mix more wash?
Going to what?
Wash, are we gonna have to make more now?
No, we're going to actually start because we
Oh.
did this. We're going to paint the light parts,
Oh,
the
okay.
light parts of this. We're going to start our painting.
Okay.
And that goes back to this. I'll just bring this up so you can kind of copy it. Just so you get the idea of the process. So the first part of this is we're going to be painting this. Okay, I'll put this down below just so you can see. But what I'm interested in is this. I'm painting that atmosphere. I'm doing an underpainting for all this. See, there's some warmth in this dark. This is awfully dark down here. There's some warmth in there, but it's also going to be in shadow. So I'm going to paint warm first and then cool over the top of it. And almost all paintings have this. I mean, almost all paintings have warm, cool. Doesn't make any difference. The shapes look like boats. And that's all I care about. So, following what I think is the process of watercolor, I'm going to paint light to dark. I'm going to paint light top to bottom. I'm going to paint soft to hard edges. I'm going to paint big to small. All those things. So that's how it's not like painting in another medium where you can start wherever you want. Doesn't make any difference. You're putting down every brush stroke anyway. So is everybody kind of ready for this one? I think we'll,
Are we starting a new one?
I'm starting my color one. It's not a new one, it's my color one.
Oh, that was first step for that. Oh,
Save that. That's your reference. That's you're painting all the white places on there on what you just painted.
oh,
You're
okay.
not painting any of the gray, you're painting the white places, okay? So I'm doing my, you can call it an underpainting, you can call it whatever you want. I'm gonna keep my water, and I'm looking at the reference.
Do what you want, do what you want.
I'm sorry?
But we're starting another page.
Hi.
We're starting the color painting. This was the first of the process. I'm doing my value study along with the painting at the same time. Okay? Okay?
So I'm doing it right on this.
Because it's the same process. Here, I'll show you an example. It's not me, it's Andy. And I'll see if I can find, oh, by the way, here's a process when you're designing. I didn't show you this. This is what we're figuring out right here, light, dark, and midtone. And look at this painting. This painting came from this. That doesn't have to be, that's just a study, but this painting came from this. They figured it out. And they could have done this several times. It certainly doesn't take very long, does it? I want to show you an example if I have one. Yes, here's an example. here is an Andy painting. And so can you see how those
Okay.
shapes were figured out? That
Jefferson?
that barn is not a tangent. I want that roof to show up, but I don't have to go all the way. How do I do that cleverly? The side, that's a truck, looks like a truck. Does this make sense to you?
It's beautiful.
Yeah,
Love that.
it's here's another one. Same thing. So how do I paint that? How do I paint that? Oh my God, that's so hard. No, look, all these connected shapes, all those gray, that mid-tone value is all connected. Look how that's all connected. Look at that color. It's all connected. It just doesn't stop right there. It's all connected. Changes in value. So anyway, does that make sense? That's what we're doing right there. Okay. And let me bring that back up. Let me bring that up. And so how am I going to start this? Let's see, the top of this is fuzzy. This is wet on wet or wet on damp. And I really don't have to get into this yet. The boats don't really have anything to do with that. The insides of the boats, I'm just painting the light. I'm leaving the white paper for that, for the seats and whatnot. So how am I going to do that? I'm going to take a clean brush. First of all, I'm going to mix up some Payne's Gray, and I'm using Winsor Newton Payne's Gray, which is already blue. I'm going to add a little cobalt to it to make it a little bluer. And my puddle. So I've got a little darker, I've got a little bluer. And how do I paint that fog back there, that atmosphere? I'm going to wet the paper down to here.
You're not in camera. That piece right there, see? There you go.
I'm going to wet the paper down to here.
Oh,
This is all dry. This is all going to be wet down to here. Okay, I'm doing it with clear water. There's my clear water. I'm going to wet it down to about my horizon line. Maybe a little bit beyond, but that's okay. Can you see how wet and shiny that is? So here's my test. I'm going to use the darker side. I'm going to paint this background. And this is a pretty wet paper. So I'm going to have to let it set up for a couple of minutes. Because that's glossy wet. I want it to be, have a sheen. I want it to be damp, not wet.
okay, I'm confused. Did you wet where you just shaded?
Yes,
Okay,
I
the
just,
whole
I
thing.
just painted this with clear water.
Oh, so you went
The
all
top
the way
third.
across. Okay.
Did you see me not do
Yeah.
that?
No, I wasn't sure.
Okay, just the
Right
top
part.
third.
Oh.
Okay, now the sheen is going off of this paper, and I'm going to make this just slightly darker than what I think, because as we all know, the watercolor dries like 50% lighter. I've got some dark over here. This is never going to dry that dark. I'm going to add a little more dark right there. This paper is still too wet. And this is all gonna, looks good right now. I'm actually negative painting around these white shapes. This looks good right now, but I guarantee you it's going to all kind of blend into each other. I've got this bush and this tree in front of it, but now I've got this fog behind it. I'm going to put some warm over the top of that. I'm just going to paint these darker shapes right here. And they're not just all going to be the same. Oh, there's my foggy stroke. I'm going to actually try to do, I'm going to actually try to paint.
The back of the box.
This fog kind of looking down here. And that will guarantee it will dry lighter and it will dry. So that's all going to start. I'm painting on damp paper now, not dry paper. That is all going to start blending together. I'm just touching, not trying to go crazy with this.
Am I right, Jim? I'm thinking you don't have any tracing paper under this.
I'm
color?
sorry?
Under this one, you're not using any tracing paper?
Yeah, I traced both of them.
Oh, okay.
That's why I had you trace both, see? I've already got this drawn out. I just didn't pencil anything up here because I didn't have to.
Gotcha, okay.
I didn't have to. You can also do some lifting if you want at this stage. I could lift a little bit of paint right there if you wanted to. I'm just showing you the possibilities. And I am going to put a little, it started to dry out now. I'm just going to put a little of that glue down here. So, but I want to keep this soft edge. It's kind of cool. And now that that is cooking, it's cooking. That's what it's doing, cooking. I'm going to mix up a warm color. I'm going to mix up my warm while the paper is still damp. So you see how that's painting itself? That's the secret of watercolor. It paints itself. How to Make a Watercolor Paint Itself by Nita Engel. You can get it for like $7 or something now. I'm going to use some burnt sienna. So I painted some cool in here already. I'm going to use this burnt sienna. I'm going to start adding a little, that's a pretty weak puddle. I'm painting a light again, remember? While that's still wet, I'm going to paint a little, there's some of my bush color showing through. That's going to get a nice bloom on there, isn't it? Yay. Well, usually don't want those, but in this case I do. I'm going to go on down. I'm going to leave a little white here for that light coming down.
This is on wet, I mean dry, right?
Yes. I just want to make sure that I kind of a little careful around the boats. Other than that, I'm pretty loose.
Oh, shoot. we had a-
I'm just painting I'm just getting rid of some white paper in essence. I'm going to paint this all warm under here. As I said before, that dark is not just all dark. I want to make sure and leave some of those highlights on there. That's a reminder for me. The rest of this, I can pretty much I'm going to use a little bit of a quinacridone gold on here just to warm stuff up. That's some of those weeds popping up. Oh, look at that. That's beautiful. That's pretty cool. I like that. I gotta do this side of the boat. That's got some warm in there. I'm gonna do that whole boat plus the reflection. Look at that big honking brush that I'm using. Because I have to paint this fairly quickly. Timing. It's watercolor. Look at how my fog painted itself while I wasn't paying attention. Yay. It's pretty cool. I'm gonna go back to my blue. Gonna add just a tad of ultramarine in it. That'll bring it forward a little bit. I'm trying to just connect these shapes. Connect the shapes. Connect these shapes. Yeah. I want to put a little bit of that Quinn Gold up here. Just to bring a little bit of that yellow in. Outline this boat. I'm following this. I'm painting this big shape. A little bit of warm over here. Pretty cool. I kind of like it. So I painted everything. I got rid of the white paper, basically. That's not really white paper now. And I painted this shape. I added the fog, of course, but I painted that shape. Make sense? It doesn't make sense.
Well, it makes sense if you say so, it's not there yet.
It makes sense if I say so. Okay, now I'm gonna let that dry and let you guys get this far. Do not overpaint it. There's plenty of time to fix stuff. Do not try to fix anything. So I used this. I used I used this as my guide to paint this. Okay. My big deal here was to paint that fog. That's the big deal. Okay. And this is I'm just getting rid of the light paper. The next thing we're going to do is paint the midtone. Don't make this light too dark yet. It's the light part of the paper. Yeah. Okay, 5 minutes. I'm gonna start painting some mid-tone. I think this paper will be okay to do that, but I think I've loosely and freshly captured the part of this that I wanted. I'm not trying to fix anything. It's economy of brush strokes.
So Joe, do we
So,
want
do we want?
completely
I'm
dry?
sorry?
Should I use a hair
sorry?
dryer?
I'm sorry, say again.
Do you want the paper completely dry? Should I use a hair
Uh,
dryer?
It's not a big deal. I mean, if you were doing this, I'm still gonna take advantage of some wet on damp. But this is gonna be dry enough because I'm not painting any actual hard edge yet. I'm still suggesting all this weeds, bushes, all that. This part's done as far as I'm concerned. And I've laid the groundwork to finish that off. This I could, but I want some dry brush over that. So I'll probably let that dry a little bit. This is dry enough to paint on. It's gonna hold that edge.
Okay,
That's
thank,
just, that's one of the things that you can't tell somebody. They just have to experience it. It's like golf. I can't have somebody tell me how to hit a stop wedge. They have to show me, and then I have to emulate them. I don't get the words. I'd never be a lawyer.
Same.
When I buy books, they're to sit on the coffee table and to look at the
They're
pictures.
pretty, yeah.
Yeah, I usually don't read any art books. Unless it's something I can't figure out for myself. Oh, that's the tool, or that's the, oh, they use granulating. Oh, now I get it. Anyway. Okay, a couple minutes. Oh, and cookies too. Look at that. That's come and get it. Come and get it. Got plenty of stuff.
You're making nothing.
Okay, so I've covered up a lot of the paper that I wanted to. I've got a nice background set here. I'm gonna mix up a little darker brown, a dirtier brown, a umbery kind of brown. Put some of that. I love mixing colors on the palette because you get those colors not out of the tube colors. I'm gonna put some of these bushes in here. I'm using the side of my brush. And I'm kind of just scribbling. And here it is, my tree going off into that bloom really helps. And I'm painting my light mid-tone. I'm just going to continue down. I want this to stay light down here. I want that little part to stay light. I am going to start roughing this in. And use a little bit of lavender with my burnt umber, just neutralize it just a tad. Along this shoreline, I think you all can see the where I'm painting and the reference. It's pretty good mid-tone. Oops, I gotta wear my glasses. What am I doing? I'm painting very loosely, very freshly, and I'm still going to go over that my darks. I'm getting darker, but it's still.
And what color are you really using now? That color?
I use burnt umber and a little lavender to neutral it up a little bit. I just wanted a little darker brown. It doesn't make any difference what color you use. It's the value of the color that's
Okay.
important. Can you see the shapes starting to work? Still using this big brush. And now that I've got that, that's not too bad. I'm painting along this top of this, so I want that top to be kind of weedy looking. I want less contrast here, more contrast where I want you to look. Hey, look at the shapes are starting to work. Wow. Wowzy. What? Yeah, you want to borrow anything that I have, whatever you feel comfortable with, round or, it doesn't make any difference what brush, round or flat. While this is still damp up here, I think I'm going to just scrape in some weeds, not too many. Scrape in some weeds down here. I'm not trying to paint an oil painting. I'm not trying to copy this exactly. I'm trying to just I hope it's still being recorded. That did it to me the other day too. Anyway, no worries. I have the movie. I have the movies. So these aren't my darks yet. You can see by my palette that's not really dark yet. But I am adding cool to this, and y'all know
Yeah,
that this is going to dry lighter anyway. I'm just painting shapes. I'm filling in this, and I'm painting this shape. This gets cool right here. And this whole thing is pretty cool under here. Just doing a little negative painting around some of those little weeds. And some darks back here. Few. Nice and loose. Hold the brush at the end. A few little darks down here. Start connecting those a little bit. Your finger is a great brush. There's some of that gold color. A little bit. I'm going to add some ultramarine. I'm going to start this water down here. Connect that. Connect those shapes. And put a little bit of that blue while I have it. I like to spot, if I put that there, then I'm going to want to put that color someplace else. So I'm going to make sure that I put a little bit of that right here to make sure that that boat stands out. Nice little value change. And so that is pretty much. Gonna add a little bit of more burnt sienna to that. It's a little redder. Maybe I'll even put a little red in it. I want a little bit right there. And I'm gonna put a little bit of that color down here. That's pretty busy down there. I want to simplify that. And a little bit of that red there to make it fun. More fun. And the last mid-tone thing I'm going to paint is inside of those boats. I'm going to use a little bit of phthalo, just a tad, but I'm going to kill it a little bit. There we go.
By kill it, you mean neutralize it or water it down?
No, I did both.
Oh,
I neutralized it. Because we're going to be using this for the shadows, shadow side. Good enough. Good enough.
What color did you use for this?
I use some ultramarine and a little phthalo.
Phthalo, okay.
Yeah, it's I just wanted a little brighter.
Right.
So now I'm just painting the shapes of the boats, the insides of the boats, leaving the white paper.
Yes, got it.
I'm trying to paint these in simple strokes. I'm not petting. You've always got white paint. You've always got all that other stuff. So
Are you more small brushes?
that'll work, I think. And so that's kind of my mid-tone. Can you all see how I followed the shapes? I went from big shapes to small shapes. And now I'm painting just very loosely because that's what it requires, I think. I'm going to get rid of this white back here. I'm going to make that a brighter, I'm going to make it a brighter yellower color. That's quinacridone gold, in case you can't see it on the palette. And you know me, I tend to make things more colorful than they really are. So I'm going to leave this dry. Why not? I think I've got enough subtlety, if you will. Now, all we have to do is finish painting the darks in here. That's going to lead us. We painted the light. Now we painted the mid-tone shapes, all connected. Those colors run into each other. Those colors run into each other. And then we're going to paint the darks for definition. Oh, yeah, now I see where the light's coming from. Because I couldn't see it before because I didn't have any, I had light, but I didn't have shadow. So when we do that, we can just apply what we did there to here, and we're done. How about that?
Lost my words.
You got lost in the boats? That's why I had you trace these. Otherwise, people would have gone crazy trying to paint the damn boats. So paint the insides of the boats. Paint the blue, and then you're ready
Yeah,
to.
I need it to dry. some.
Oh, it's still pretty wet. Oh, it's really, yeah. Can you guys see how this is kind of shaping up?
Oh, exactly.
And I can also go back at the end. I can do it now because I'm waiting. I can take that's a clean towel with I want to soften that edge. Yeah, look at that. Softens right out. I can go back and I can fix all this stuff. Do I want to soften this? Yes, I want to soften that. Cool. There we go, because I'm going to define that in a little bit. So while that is drying, I'll put that over there and I'm going to see, how do I paint this? I'm going to go back to my Payne's Gray, my value study, and I'm just going to mix a dark puddle. I see that I have something going on back here, and I have a little tree. What did I do with that? I have some dark along this bank, and I'm not going to try to paint this. I'm not going to try to be nutty on painting this. There's kind of my shoreline. The reason I'm doing that is I want this to set up this boat. And the shadows. So here's my boat. My darks. Hey, those are boats. Look at that. Son of a gun. Son of a gun. I don't have to go crazy with detail here. Just enough to make sense out of it for me. Because I know I'm going to be painting this, so I'm going to be painting the details, so I don't have to really go nuts. Kind of looks like a boat. I can put in a few little, just to remind me that it's a so that's going to give me a model to paint my darks. Yeah, I think I want my darks in there, kind of sort of like this. That made sense out of it. I'm painting a little more than darks just to show you. And there's my darks right over that gray value. So that I'm going to just put up right there. So that's going to tell me how to paint this. In fact, I'm going to use pretty much that same puddle for darks. Good enough. Good enough. And this one, all those little ribs coming down, those will be just fine. Good enough. I can go back and I can soften edges. I can do whatever I want to later. Trying to get this these final shapes in here, and I'm keeping them simple. I'm not angsting over boat construction. Your darks in here, capture the side of that boat. This reflection gets a little darker. Starting to come together. Think. I'm gonna touch that up just a tad. I put some darks here. We've got a couple little darks to put back here, but I don't want to get that too dark. Because I want that to stay back. It's had time enough to dry, I think. And a couple of ducks back there if you want. Why not? Take my dagger brush along with a little dark. And now I can put in some of these. See, look how easy that is. I'm just scribbling. Connecting and scribbling a little bit over there. Maybe a little bit right through here. Not much. Just using a splayed brush, little texture. A little texture. Little lift. And so this told me where to put my darks. Oh, in fact, I've got to put a couple right here. Cool. I could go back with a little bit of gouache or white paint now and fix a few things, but that's later. I gotta like this first, and I think I went through the process, so I could like this. In fact, I could use a little bit of, this is a pastel pencil I have. So I could, that's still too wet, but you can see what you can kind of do with that. So that connects those a little bit better. I like using the pastel pencils. They're pretty cool. Anyway, you could pick apart everything on here. All of that, where's the or, where's the this, where's the that, but I like the suggestion better than anything else. And this is what gave me that ability to suggest is my value study. My value study gave me that ability to suggest. So if that makes sense.
Mhm.
And I didn't know that that was there. Anyway, it makes sense to me. That's all I care about. I just wanted to, everybody to. I wanted to communicate the process of doing this to this and figuring out how to simplify that. Egad. How do I simplify that? Well, this is a little misleading because it's full of all kinds of technique. We didn't use salt. We used scraping. We used blooms. We used, we didn't use any spatter yet, which I could do. But it was pretty straightforward once I figured out the bigger shapes, the big shapes, and then painted it in this process. I'm painting everything that's light on here with this. I'm painting everything that's mid-tone on here with this one. And here is the final stage of adding the darks and ending up with a painting. So I'm hoping this makes sense to you guys. And now that I'm looking at it on the monitor, oh no, in real life, the monitor's a little garish, but in real life, that does stay back. This does come forward, it's warmer and it's more detailed. And besides, I showed you how to just take some water in a paper towel, and I just want to soften that, blend that a little bit more so it stays back even further. Okey doke, you can finish this up. You grab a snack.
Our boats look like coffins.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I said,
Boats
well,
look like
why not?
coffins.
My boats look like coffins. Look.
Burial at sea.
That's a good one.
Oh, lost. I could work on the shape some more with pen or
That-
something.
That's okay. That doesn't make any difference, but
This is
that's
personal.
the reason I'm asking you to trace these boats, because boats aren't easy to draw and people get fatouched by the boats.
See, like this one, we did. See, when here, I lost the shape here, but
Oh.
I can still rescue this, right? And this.
Yeah,
shape,
but that's not a painting. You don't have to do that.
Right, but if
so-
I'm gonna go out and color it now.
Yeah, this value study up here is just a study.
Yeah.
It's not a painting, so you don't have to
Right,
go crazy with detail or anything else, because you're gonna paint it here. You're just getting a suggestion of this up here. And if you paint it the way I think you should, is this is all a suggestion.
right.
You know, I'm suggesting fog, I'm
I'm
suggesting,
gonna try those boats.
uh,
Yes, danger.
yeah, this was a pretty good learn from, as far as an image, because, it's got, architectural, and geometric and organic. Uh,
Really good.
anyway. Okay, 12:30. I'm going to yak in between time, but it's being recorded anyway, so no worries. Anybody have any questions about what we did? Yes, no? It's just practice, that's all. But this is a good, this process is a really great way to up your success rate on your paintings. Because if you do your homework like this, your upfront stuff, then all you have to do is paint. You don't have to paint and save. You just have to paint. So that's the big deal. Then you can take as long as you want and do whatever your art DNA, i.e. your gut is telling you what. So I'm going to still yak. Yes, I'll just share the screen. Okay, I'm going to take 10 minutes and I will leave this up. I'll just leave that up for now. So you guys can kind of see where we came from,
Kinda, sorta.
kind of, sort of.
I'm gonna go down to my studio and get my real palettes and stuff. Thank you,
What?
Joe. Go down to my studio and stuff there. And
Okay,
at home, I've been working in pastels.
well, that's okay. This is kind of a good refresher.
Oh, I wanna do it on the television.
Yeah.
I'm glad she suggested the one.
New Huma's in here. John?
Oh,
Joe. I don't want one tomorrow.
oh, okay.
I'm buying myself a Christmas present. I'm buying these two.
Oh, okay.
Okay, is that 105 and 85?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna take them and then I'm gonna send you a check, because I
Okay.
can't bring my checkbook with me.
Okay.
That's my Merry Christmas present.
There you go. Thank you. Here. This is what I did before. I'm gonna stick this on one of. That's it, address.
Oh, I know your address.
Oh, okay.
I've got your address, not to
Okay.
worry. You're on my Christmas card list.
Oh, thank you. Yes, you were. Okay. Look at that, the last sheet. I'm going to pause the recording. Hit me over the head.
I was not that kind of instructor, but I understood Mary's frustration.
Oh, of course you did. Oh, yeah.
You gotta be teacher. And what I did when I learned from that is you do have to fix a drawing now and then of a student because they're so off. So
Well,
I
that's
would
the
take,
best
so I
way,
would
yeah.
take a piece of tracing paper
Because Alec is leaving. for
and
this
put it
reading.
over the drawing
Okay.
and make the correction and say, now, make this correction.
That's pretty.
Because I learned from that. terrible experience.
Okay, we are not going to do this value study for this one. And we're gonna do that watercolor mistakes first, just for fun and a warm up, because I know that, what did somebody say? Torture. Oh, what's my next torture? Anyway, but we will do this one for those of you who want to do it. You don't have to do it, but if you want to do it, that's cool. It's done pretty loosely. And it's following the shapes. That's all it's doing, is following the shapes. So, and this is all in your cluster folder and in the handout. So I will put those away for the time being. So I want you to get out a fresh sheet of good paper, not your lousy paper, but good paper.
Have paper today, sorry.
And I want to make sure that this is. You can all see my screen, right?
Yes.
Yeah, good. And it is, yes, and it is recorded. Okay. So we're going to, I'm going to go down this list, kind of, sort of. And this is going to be easy peasy. What is this? Whose is this?
That's yours.
It's mine?
Yeah,
Who gave that to? Did you give that to me?
I made it.
Oh, wow.
did?
Look at that. Margie made this. That's pretty cool.
work,
How do you do that?
glass.
I actually do that.
That's great.
I
Thank you.
do fashion design. And I upload, they actually let me upload some of my work onto their glass tablet.
Ah,
Oh, just so you know that you guys in here can see this. There's a
oh, nice.
clock with one of my paintings in it. My partner gave to me.
Oh, neat.
He was
Oh,
doing that
that's
for
very
a
cool.
company he works for.
It's nice.
So anyway, so everybody get out a piece of good paper, and we're just going to play a little bit.
Right.
So, and I am definitely going to use the gravity machine. This doesn't, we're not painting anything in particular. I will, I just wanted something here that had a shape to it. It could have been the boats, it could have been anything. It can be abstract, it can be anything. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna draw just a rectangle. And I'll draw it so you can see it. There's my rectangle. And I'm just gonna draw a shape in here. And I don't care what the shape is. I'm just gonna do something like that. Doesn't make any difference what you do. I just want something to paint around. So here is where most people forget. We just painted that value study. We just painted this guy. And when we were painting the gray, the big gray shape, I said, mix enough paint, right?
Right.
So I almost didn't do that. So I am going to do the same thing. I'm going to mix enough paint. That looks awfully dark and that's fine. Doesn't really make any difference. We're not doing a value study. We're just doing a painting and you could do anything you want with this. It's it's kind of the process of it. So I've got a big puddle of well mixed color. And I'm going to screw this one up I'm going to do this wrong intentionally. So I'm anxious to paint this. This is could be a building, could be whatever. So I'm painting top to bottom. And I'm going to start off at the top. And I'm using my good paper. And remember, I take advantage of that bead of water going down through there.
You wet it first?
What?
You didn't wet it, right? It's dry.
Yes, it's dry.
Okay, I'll clean my.
You didn't
ears.
see me wet it, right? It's got a hard edge, right? So it's dry.
Okay, thank you.
And while see that bead of water forming,
Oh,
I can keep painting as long as I overlap. I'm not going to come up to it. I'm going to overlap. And you see how that's starting to get a nice flat color. Well, I'm going to say, oh, to heck with that. I've got to make sure this is right. So I'm going to paint around my design here, whatever that design is. I'm going to paint around it because that's what I was taught to do by somebody. I don't know who. And instead of doing this overlap, I'll just fix this edge right here. And let's see. I'm going to paint a little bit of this. And then I'm going to go paint this. And I'm going to continue. Oh, I think I want a little something back there. I want to make some little trees or something that I forgot about. And now I'm going to paint around this. And I ran out of paint. So now I have to mix a little bit more paint. I'm going to try to mix exactly the same thing, but I want to fix this. Whoops, that's too dark. So I'm going to make it lighter. Oh, that looks like a pretty good match now. And I see this line here. I'm going to go fix that. I'm going to take a little bit of that color and just try to fix it.
I'm sorry, what are the white shapes? Are they birds?
it's what,
They're nothing.
Oh.
Yeah, they're nothing. You could be abstract
Gotcha.
with this. I'm just showing you how not to paint a flat wash. So I try to fix that line, and I'm going to fix the top of this just because I can. And I'm going to fix the side of this just because I can. By the way, that's not the right way to fix that. My arm goes this way. So that's the way to fix that, not that. I'm using my whole arm to paint that. So I'm going to keep painting. And let's see, I want to put a I'm gonna put a door here, and I'll put some windows here. And I think I'm gonna put some steps just to make it more interesting. Anyway, I'm having fun painting. But I'm not doing it right. Because it's gonna get all blotchy, and I'm gonna get done with it and I'm gonna say, oh, damn. I thought I was doing such a good job. Oh, I gotta fix this now too. There. So I'm gonna let that dry completely. I'm gonna show you how to fix it or make it better. It's never going to be as good as doing it right. So I'm just gonna paint a little square right here. And I'm going to come down and I'm going to keep using overlapping strokes. And while I have this bead of water here, I'm going to paint some mountains. I can do that because I have that bead of water here. So there's my mountains, and that's going to be a nice flat color. The wrong way to do it is I'm going to start off the same way. I'm going to overlap. At least I learned that much. And then I'm going to do this. And start filling it in. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to fix little places. I'm going to fix that top. It's not quite straight enough yet. Anyway, I guarantee you that's going to be blotchy. Also, see my palette? While we're waiting for that to dry, here's my palette. I'm going to even add some burnt sienna to this. And I'm going to mix this whole palette together. There's what a lot of people would call mud. Maybe. And I'm just going to put, paint a background with that. And I'm overlapping my strokes. Overlap, 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 and overlap. Well, that doesn't look like mud to me. It looks actually kind of like a neutral, kind of greeny gray color. And I can take any color I want. And I'll just say, okay, let me just put some of this in here. And let it drift down. I don't think that's going to be mud either. I'm going to do this. I don't think that's going to be mud either. I'm going to do this. Pick any color you want. It doesn't make any difference. Just not supposed to be mud, right? I don't think any of those are mud. So to me, mud comes from overworking. I haven't overworked this, have I?
No.
And kind of careful with my brush strokes, not wanting to take too many brush strokes at a time. Let me try some purple. That still looks pretty good from this contaminated palette. Here, I'll just mix it all together again. Doesn't make any difference. It's kind kind of cool, kind of interesting. I'll see what happens if I just put this right there. So I think mud comes from overworking, especially if the paper starts to disintegrate. Which if you use cheap paper, it will,
It's true.
and dirty water. So I think that's where it comes from, or a dirty palette. So the thing that we don't use all the time is wet on damp. So this is this is going to be my color. And I'm just going to block this in because I don't care. I'm not trying to do a gradation. So this has got a sheen on the paper. Oh, by the way, the number one reason mistake or the number one concern in the that survey
Mhm.
was fear of being bad.
Oh, sure.
That was the number one mistake. Fear of being bad. So get over it. Tear up that piece of paper. So anyway, you can see that that is starting to dry. And a thing that we paint wet on dry. We have added wet on wet to that. So I'm going to just try some wet on damp. And I already have water on the paper, so I'm trying to mix this puddle of water, and I keep blotting the brush off on my towel. I'm going to try to use drier paint, and that's dry paint. So I'm just going to wet on damp. And I love the edges what you get when you paint wet on damp. And we're going to be doing that if you want to paint this guy. I'm going to paint this guy, especially this background, wet on damp. So that's going to dry. So this is actually going to give me a defined shape because it's wet on damp. It did not go bluey and blow up. So I can take advantage of this. You can paint anything you want. I'm just making it up. And I don't think this is damp anymore. I think this is dry. Let's see. Yeah, that's getting pretty dry now. So let's take advantage of that. I'm just going to mix up anything that I have on my palette. That's wet on dry. That edge is wet on damp.
Really like the wet on wet.
It's wet on damp. It's not wet on wet. Wet on wet is this. Wet on wet is I'll wet the
Bathing suit.
I'll just do a little thing about wet on wet here. You can see that. So I'm going to put down this color. I'll put down that same color. Okay, so that's wet. That's wet paint. I had to let it dry a little bit to put down wet on damp. So if I do this on this paper, this paint, it's all going to go blurry. It's all going to just blow up on me.
Okay.
This, I can retain an edge. That's going to get so soft, it's going to disappear. But as this is drying, then I can say, okay, where's the light side? Where's the shadow side? I can actually put some And I think I'll put a little dark right there. And when you do wet on damp, it's very easy to lift.
Oh yeah, they like fuck up their lips or whatever.
Yeah, they just start going in. And
Yeah.
a little bit of this. My nose is a little too long, and this is this girl that I knew, and I hadn't seen her for a while, and I saw her like 2 years later, and it looked like someone punched her.
Hello? Hello? Where did that come from? I don't know. Oh, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, let me share the screen again. So can you see what the advantages of painting wet on damp are? I can get much more interest, I think. And it's often forgotten about. You all often do it by mistake. So this guy is not too bad. This guy's a disaster. This was my muddy colors. I'm just hitting the high points here about what I see for people making mistakes. I'm going to dry this. This is actually pretty dry. Let me dry it real quick. So that's dry enough, I think. I'm not going to use Mr. Gravity for this, but I am going to use, I don't even have to use plain water. What I'm going to do is use, I'm going to say it's clear water. And this part up here is pretty blotchy because I tried to go back and fix an edge. I outlined this first. And that was a mistake. I should have just come all the way down, just like I did these mountains, and then outline it, keeping that bead of water going all at the same time. So I got to try to fix that because I really like the start. So I'm going to use clear water, and I'm just going to, this is going to be much better, but it's not going to be perfect. And I'm just going to go over those white things that I left. I'm going to use a lot of water, and I'm going to cover this whole thing. And this has to be completely dry, completely dry. And now I'm just scrubbing. I'm just going crosshatch. I'm trying to use the paint that I already have on there. And I'm trying to dissolve it enough so I can get rid of the objectionable edges. And I'm going to keep doing that until I think I've gotten rid of most of them. Up at the top, it was really dicey. I just wanted a flat background. How did this happen? I'm going to have to tickle that edge a little bit. Tickle this edge a little bit. Use big strokes. Still pretty wet. And I think you can kind of see that most of that blotchy stuff is gone. Because you can fix almost anything as long as you let it dry completely before you try to do that. Now that's a fix. That's not as good as what it would have been if I would have worked the bead going down the page around that shape. And this is not wet on damp, this is wet on dry, but if I wanted some of those, say I wanted some palm trees back here, those are all gonna blow up pretty much because it's too wet. And I wanted another building. This is the wet on damp part. This is the wet on dry. You didn't see me touch this with water. So this is wet on dry. Whatever. Wet on dry. That actually works pretty well. I wanted those palm trees to stay back there. And now I can keep going. I can put a little dimension on this. And while that is wet, I'm just going to do this side of it. Anyway, you can see how you can work this to your advantage. So hopefully you got something out of just a refresher on the process of painting wet on wet, wet on dry, wet on damp. And we didn't do any dry on dry, but that's pretty obvious. I'm going to take my paint and I'm going to blot it on the towel until it's absolutely dry, or pretty doggone dry. And I can put some stucco or weeds in here. There we go. So there's all four. That's really good. If you don't have time to paint, and it's really a good exercise. If you don't have time to paint, you have time. You have 15 minutes to do this, but do it on your good paper. Don't do it on your lousy paper, because you're going to be disappointed with the results. And I don't think you're going to be able to. The whole point of doing these exercises is so you don't get surprised. So I am going to, I gave you all this. That's in the reference folder. And just for fun, I will show you how I trace, because we have time. We have time, I think. Normally, I would just draw this. It's a fairly simple drawing. I gotta take my shirt off. That's because it's 77.
Oh, jeez.
You're wearing a sweater, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's feast or famine in here. So here's how I use my carbon paper. I'm going to position this. I can position this a little bit different. I'm going to move it away from the edge a little bit more, and maybe up a little bit more. So now I've positioned what I'm tracing, and I'm going to just tape it at the top. And can I borrow a piece of tracing paper I gave you? Real quick. So now I'm just gonna slide the tracing paper under. And all I'm concerned about is the big shapes. And I'm going to use my brush. So I've got some stuff coming down here. I've got some trees coming down here. See if that's making a mark. Yes, it's making a mark, and I don't want it any darker than that. I can see that. There's a tree, here's a tree. I don't have to do anything more than just do these big shapes. Here's a rock. Here's a rock. This is a bunch of rocks with water in between. Here's actually the shape of my little waterfall. So, and I'm just doing the house, the cabin, very simply. Just want to make sure, most of all, that it's in the right spot. So there is my, there's my fabulous tracing. And that's really all I need. Cool. That's all I need. I just want to make sure I've got the big shapes done. And I don't need it too dark. Cool. So I'm going to bring up the, we're not doing the value study, but we're going to paint the light part of it. And I will bring those up to show you. So here's kind of what we're after. That's part of it. Let me move this guy over. And then this is the finish. But I'll let you do this. I won't show you the finish. I'm going to show you this one and this one. So that's your kind of reference. That's what inspired you. You said you wanted to paint that. So now how do I paint it? So I'm going to start off painting it this way, and I'm going to paint the light part of my value study. The light part of your value study, I'm going to paint the light and the light midtone and some of the, the light and the light midtone, just to kind of cover up some of the paper. And I'm going to get some plain water. No worries. So I'll give you a couple of minutes to either trace that or finish up your little our little play, our little refresher play. I gave you 3.
Oh, I missed one for that.
No, I'll do it. Otherwise, it's going to take this. Some of these pins don't get, as you know, they don't get very easy. Okay, I'll give you a couple minutes to get that far. I think we've got enough time. Yeah. All you're concerned about is is what I'm painting positioned correctly. And then you don't have to worry about, so you're just worried about, position.
Valley water from this, show you that next time you see this. I could find a name, it's really, really. I'll take a picture and send it to you. Didn't run this. But I should be getting.
Did, you all, I'm going to Dallas, did you all, understand, about how to get rid of or not cause the blotches? Blotches?
Let it dry.
If you do get those, let it dry overnight, let it dry a couple hours, and then you can go back and re-melt, I guess, with paint and even it out. So, especially if you're using good paper. If you're not using good paper, then I feel sorry for you. You made your own bed. So I want to make sure that this is, yes. Okay. Okay, so how do we paint that? We're gonna paint that with the same kind of process we used for the boat. Anyway, I'm gonna use this size brush. And you know what? I'm going to mix my contaminated palette in here to wet the paper. I'm gonna wet the paper. Am I gonna wet the paper all over?
I,
What about the house?
no. You don't want it running in.
No, I'm not gonna wet the paper all over, but I kind of like this sage green kind of color. So I'm gonna wet that, and I don't really care about most of it, but I want to make sure I go around this house. Doesn't have to be exact, but close enough. And I can actually start being creative with my water. Now I know I've got white down here. I know I've got light there. There's going to be some light right through here. This is going to be light. Through there. I'm looking at my value study to see what I need to do. And I'm just really just kind of wetting the paper with this color. Kind of fun. You don't really have to be that careful with it. Fun. So that paper's damp. So now I can go back and I can start putting in some color while it's damp. I think I want some, I'm going to make this one pretty colorful. And remember that paper's already wet. So I just want to go down here like this. That's kind of cool. A tree, and where I put that color, I want to put it someplace else. That's kind of fun. I'm gonna use another blue. Remember, this is going to dry lighter, so don't be shy. I'm going to use some red. Yep. I like that. If I use that there, I'm going to use it someplace over here. And I'm going to use it in these rocks coming down here. I can be pretty loose with this, huh? I'm just kind of painting abstractly. That's kind of fun. Kind of fun, yeah. On this one, I think I'm going to use a little, going to make my own green quinacridone gold and a little bit of cerulean to make my own green. I want some bright green going through there. Yeah, why not? I'm going to put some green trees up in here. And if I do that there, then I'm for sure going to do it somewhere else on this side. I'm having fun. I haven't put any purple in yet. As this paper starts to dry, this is a classic wet and damp. As this paper starts to dry, it's going to give you a different look.
What kind of red was that?
I'm sorry?
What kind of red was that? The red you used?
The red, it's just cad red light. It's just red. Start kind of trying to map out my
How long do we have the recording for?
forever.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah,
that's
I told you that yeah, I don't care. Some people are silly about that, but I told you already that I've already recorded this with on YouTube. I mean, I've already recorded me painting this. I'm just kind of marking out where my water is going to play. And so I think that's a pretty fun start. I'm going to put in a few darks. I'm going to use purple just to see where I am. I've got some dark going in there. A few darks. I'm going to have some dark around here. This is still pretty wet, so it's a lot of it's not going to take. In fact, I'm going to blot some of this up. That bead works pretty good. I like that red. I'm just gonna put in a little bit more of it. I love contaminated palettes. They give you such great colors. And I'm only making a couple of one pass at this. I'm not trying to paint anything yet. I'm just blocking in a bunch of these shapes. So anyway, this is a fairly decent start, I think, on use a little more of this bright blue, the phthalo blue, and then I'm gonna let it dry. Yeah. It's better. That's enough. See how cool that wet and damp is making that look? I think. Fun. I think it's fun.
It is. I say it's a lot of fun. I love the colors.
Yeah.
What's my next? Study it and I had it again. Thank you for the handouts. They are.
Oh, sure.
Let me see yours again, just fast it back. Joe,
Yes.
okay, I just want to see, okay, thank you, guys.
I'm gonna take a quick pic of this so I can send it to you and
Okay,
debrief about what maybe the start of this looks like. So now I've kind of covered up my lighter portions of this. And this has started to dry, I think. So now I can concentrate on this shape right here, and this shape right here. But first I'm going to put a few little shapes in back there. It's going to be nice because that paper is damp down here. Kind of cool. That's going to go way, way back. I'm going to mix up some Payne's Gray, and I'm going to mix alizarin with it. And I'm going to paint trees with that. Wait a minute, trees aren't green. I mean, they are green. But I think it would be kind of fun to do some purple in there. I'm gonna mix teal with it. Let it go right into that purple. Oh, how cool. I keep alternating between the teal and the purple. Nice and loose. Fresh. I really like the way all these colors are kind of mixing together. And of course, I can go back in here a little bit and do this. Probably too late. Oh, maybe not. Whoops, oh no, I dropped my brush, it's ruined.
Yeah.
And we're getting there.
These are done.
So we're not to the dark yet. We're still painting mid-tone. I'm just trying to paint what I see on the reference. Still not into dark yet, but I am getting there. Rocks. Now I see what dark is going to look like. Kind of. Starting to come to life a little bit, I think. We're getting there. I think I'll keep painting and just start putting in some darks to make sense out of this whole thing. It's going to really pop stuff too.
Joe, what are you using for your darkest color there? What mix?
I'm just using paints. Pretty much all paints, but I'm using a contaminated palette too.
Hmm.
For me, mostly about the value, not necessarily the color. So I'm just mixing kind of a contaminated, kind of greeny palette. I'm just kind of starting to make stuff up now. Keep trying to keep it fresh. Not painting too much. Okay.
Thank you very much. It was great.
Oh, good.
And see you next
Good to
month.
see you again.
See you next month, Joe.
Okay.
Happy holidays.
Yes.
Taking advantage of some of that damp. Ah. Now you can either take a pastel pencil, which this isn't quite dry enough yet, so I'll probably just use white. I just want to go back and I want to just click a couple of things up. So I'm just using my Dr. Martin's bleed proof white. Probably enough. I use these, I've got a light gray, I've got a cream colored, and I've got a light blue pastel pencil. And once this is dry, you can go back and you can Like if I wanted a little reflection of a little yellow down here. See, I could just do that. Got that there, so I could just do that. I could click up the top of these, some of these rocks a little bit. That's too wet to do it with right there, but it works pretty well, actually, I think. That didn't work. That's what I wanted. A little more of a reflection. Look. A little bit of a reflection. Here. Just sparkle it up a tad. Something in the yard, something here. And you can keep painting, you can go back and you can put more trees in, you can do pretty much whatever you want. If I wanted a tree a little closer here, I'm just going to make it darker. Bring it right on down to there. Same back here around this house, a little darker. Dark, dark. Dark, dark. It's a shadow. I think I'm done putzing. Putzing and painting start with a P, don't they? Anyway, that's certainly far enough along. I can look at it tomorrow or next week and say I'm done. I don't think of what could I add. I think it stays pretty close to what my big shapes were.
Do you go back a lot on paintings and work on them? Or
Could I go back where?
on paintings that you? Do you rework or touch up? That.
No,
Do you
I mean,
rework?
do you go back and like see something often, or is it?
I'll see. I spent 5 minutes maybe. Little highlight, a little darker, a little more red, a little whatever. Anyway. Well, that almost looks like an oil painting on that monitor. Oh my God.
That's beautiful.
You're gonna like the video better, I think, or you're gonna like the sending the original better, I think, because that monitor is pretty blown out. I need one more rock. See, it's stuff like that. Now that I'm looking at it, I need a rock right there, I think. So then I'll look at that and say, okay. But I like the mix of the wet and damp, the wet and wet, wet and damp, wet on dry, and dry on dry, which I really didn't use much of the dry on dry, but I think you get the idea. Also, if I have any NIFNAWs to make, I'll just use a Prismacolor pencil. And you can, this is cool because you can really control the value of it. You can make it gray, you can make it whatever you want to make it. Like that. If I just wanted that edge just a little bit darker right here, because it's kind of reflecting that, I can do that. I can go back and I can fix stuff. I'm going to fix that window with there. That window's fixed. All kinds of stuff like that. But this would be a great place to be painting on location, wouldn't it?
I want to Airbnb this place.
Yeah, Airbnb this place. Yes, exactly. Anyway, these are quite fun to paint because they're just letting watercolor paint itself mostly. And I did take a pic. Here, I'll take another pic. How it ended up. And again, I'll send you the link to the movie where I painted another one of these. I painted this one. So, and you'll have your choice. This one's got a little more color in it, but. Okay. Yeah, of course, the when you do two of anything, there are parts that you like about one and there are parts that you like about the other. So here, why don't you just shoot the thing?
Oh, yeah.
I like how on some of those pastel artists, they. It's so good with the same knife.
Oh, yeah.
And piece them together and then
Wait a
just
minute,
ran
wait a
the
minute.
dark color
Hold
through.
on.
It was brilliant. That was brilliant.
Are you going to send us a link to the YouTube or how do we find that?
Joe left the room. He usually emails it after a day or so it takes to process it.
Okay. All right. Well, I had fun. I'm gonna run. So this is Janice signing off. I did
Bye.
2 fantastic paintings, so I won't show you. All right, bye. I'm gonna figure out how to get out of here. That's next. Yeah.
Where what?
Janet's just signed out.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
he said she did two fantastic paintings.
Oh, sorry.
They're gonna show us.
Okay,
So
do we have any questions?
No,
Q&A.
great class. Really liked it.
Okay, well, I overwhelmed you with information, I hope. So maybe some of it'll stick, but we did the boats with which shape driven design. Actually, all this stuff is. And we did that refresher sheet. And we did this cabin in the woods. So I hope you
It did
I
a
hope
lot.
you got something out of it. Yeah. And all of the stuff is in reference folder that I sent you, that cluster folder to reference. I sent everyone a link to that. I'll resend it when if I think about it, when I send the recording and the pics from the demos. And that's all I got.
Okay, well, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, time goes by pretty quickly. It's kind of a good escape. I don't think about much else besides more red or darker light. Anyway. Do not forget, I'm not sure when the January workshop will be because I'll be catching up, but there will be one in January. And Destination Art, for those of you who live in Orange County, who are close to Torrance, who want a live, who like live workshops, that's coming up. In fact, let me see. It's on the January 27th for Destination Art. In fact, they might have it posted. I'll send you a link for that. So. Anything else? Comments? Yes.
Thank you, Joe. I enjoyed it. I did get a little lost in those boats. I think
Well,
that I
that's okay. That's what I think the recordings are valuable for, because you can pause it. Oh, look at that. Hey, good.
Can you see it?
Anybody have a show and tell? Let me pin you. And look at your camera. Look at your camera. I'm seeing the top half, but not the bottom.
Oh, I can't see what I'm seeing. Let's see, gallery view. Okay,
Yeah.
there we go.
There you go. Oh, look at that. Cool.
Oh, that's.
Lots of texture, etc. So the process worked, I think.
It was helpful, very helpful.
Oh, good. Yeah, you can figure out stuff to paint that you ordinarily would not try from a trip or from wherever, just something that you liked. Then you can figure it out if you just figure out the major shapes, 4 to 6 major shapes, and keep it that simple. Especially with watercolor, it's all about technique. So you can fill those shapes with a lot of different technique and make the painting seem very complex when really it isn't. You painted half of it and the watercolor painted the other half, are my best paintings. So my best ones are not when I have to put down every brush stroke. That's the reason I don't paint in oil or pastel or acrylic, but those are all good
The other
mediums.
one,
Good.
not
Yeah.
done.
Wet and damp, good for you.
It started.
Yep. Anybody else?
Right.
Anybody here?
Yeah, let's
Anybody?
see some more.
No,
I'm sorry?
Okay.
Oh, let me pin you. Oh, there you go.
Oh,
Cool.
lovely.
Is that
Posting,
value study, right?
yeah,
Pardon?
take pics of these and put them in the cluster folder. That's just for us.
Okay.
So Anybody else? Liza?
Here it is.
Oh, cool. Yeah, everybody's, that's really cool because everybody's art DNA shows up. You know how they paint?
Happy holidays.
Yeah,
Oh, thank you so
thank-
much.
thank you.
DNA, huh?
Hope your mom's.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's,
I know.
you know, we all go through it. Thanks.
I know we do. Oh, hang on. Let me pin this one.
Happy holidays,
Mhm.
Joe. and
Oh, look at that
everyone.
one. Cool.
Ooh,
Wow.
yeah, beautiful.
Nice.
Thank
Good.
you.
Yeah.
Good for
thank
you guys.
Holidays.
Happy
Yeah.
holidays to everyone. See you
you.
next year.
Okay.
Thank you.
See you
Bye.
next year.
See you
Bye-bye.
again. Bye.